You know, if you can't even handle having a pool, maybe you shouldn't live here. That was what Monique Harris overheard one of her white neighbors whisper about her. The pool, she had paid for it. Every brick, every tile, every drop of water. The house, bought with her own hard-earned money. No loans, no handouts. But in this neighborhood in Willow Heights, that seemed to bother some people. First, it was small things. Side glances, comments about how big her yard was. A few muttered jokes about how certain folks didn't know how to take care of a property like that. She ignored it. Until one day she came home and found strangers. Kids, adults, splashing in her pool like it was a public park. No permission, no shame, no respect. And when she asked them to leave, oh, they laughed. You weren't using it. What's the big deal? But they had no idea who they were messing with, because Monique Harris had spent her life standing her ground, and if they thought they could walk all over her or her property, they were about to learn a lesson they'd never forget. She warned them to stay away, but they didn't listen, so she made sure they would never try again. Monique Harris had worked hard for everything she owned. At 42, she was proud of her home, a lovely 2-level house in Willow Heights, Georgia. Her backyard was her quiet place, lined with palm trees, and in the center was her treasure, a clean, well-kept pool. She didn't like to boast, but she had every right to be happy. She bought the house alone without any help, just years of saving and making smart choices. Her neighborhood was mostly families, some friendly, some distant. Monique didn't care. She just wanted peace. But that peace didn't last. The first time it happened, she ignored it. One Saturday, she came home and noticed wet footprints leading from her backyard gate to the sidewalk. At first, she thought it might be a worker. But then she spotted a soaked towel tossed over her fence. She checked the pool. Its water level was lower, her float was moved, and a half-empty soda can sat on her chair. Someone had been in her yard. She tried to stay calm. Maybe it was a mistake, or perhaps a kid had climbed the fence and run off. But when she asked her neighbors, they just shrugged. Probably just kids. One woman laughed. You know how they act. Another neighbor, a man in his 50s, barely looked up from his car. They're just having fun, Miss Harris. You've got a nice pool. People notice. His tone upset her, but she let it go. She tightened the lock on her gate, hoping it wouldn't happen again, but it did. A week later, she was inside when she heard splashing. First, she thought it was the pool filter, then laughter. She looked outside. A teenage boy was swimming like he owned the place, and a girl, maybe his sister, sat on the edge, dipping her feet in. Monique yanked the door open. Excuse me. The kids froze. The boy scrambled out of the water. I thought you wouldn't mind, he stammered. You didn't even ask. Monique snapped. Who are you? The girl mumbled that they lived nearby. Then they ran off. Monique stood there furious. She wanted to let it go. But then came the excuses. The next day, she talked to the kids' parents, expecting an apology. Instead, she got an argument. Oh, relax. The mother said, they're just kids. It's hot out. What's the problem? Monique stared. The problem is this is my property, my home, my pool, and I didn't invite anyone. The father crossed his arms. You are overreacting. Overreacting? That's what people called it when they weren't the ones being disrespected. Monique held back her anger. Instead, she put up security cameras. Maybe that would stop them. For 2 weeks, it worked. No more footprints, no more wet towels, no more strangers in her pool. Then, on a hot Saturday, she came home and saw her side gate open. The one she always kept locked. A bad feeling hit her. She walked to the backyard and saw it. Her yard was full of people, not just kids but adults too. Her chairs were taken, beer bottles littered the ground, and someone had even set up a table with food. Her pool was crowded. Women stood waist-deep, chatting. A man leaned against the edge, drinking and smiling. For a second, Monique wondered if she was dreaming. Is this real? She thought. She took a step forward, scanning the crowd. Then she locked eyes with one of her neighbors, Pamela Driscoll, from 3 houses down. Pamela, who had never spoken to Monique before, waved like this was some friendly gathering. "Hey girl, hope you don't mind," Pamela called out. "It's so hot today. We figured we'd cool off." Monique's jaw clenched. "Mind?" Oh, she minded. Her voice came out cold and firm. "Every single one of you. Get out now." Some people froze. Others exchanged looks, as if she was the unreasonable one. Pamela rolled her eyes. "Oh, don't be like that. It's just a pool. You weren't even home." Monique stepped forward, fury simmering under her skin. "It's not just a pool. It's my pool, my house, my yard. You don't live here. You don't pay for this, so get out. All of you." Someone muttered. "Geez, what's her problem?" That was it. Monique marched to the pool equipment box, grabbed a remote, and shut off the filter. Then she ripped the power cord from the speakers. "Silence. I'm calling the police," she announced. Now they moved. Drinks were snatched up. Towels were grabbed. Within minutes, her yard was empty. Pamela, though, had the nerve to glare on her way out. "You don't have to be so stuck up," she grumbled. Nobody was wrecking anything. Monique wanted to yell. Instead, she stood stiff, watching them leave, like she was the one in the wrong. She slammed the gate shut, locked it, and stood there, hands on her hips, seething. But one thing was clear. This wasn't over. They had no respect for her, and if respect wouldn't stop them, something else would. Monique had tried everything, talking, reasoning, cameras, locks. None of it worked. Now it was time to get clever. She sat at her kitchen table, staring at the security footage from earlier. The audacity of these people acting like her home was theirs to use whenever they wanted. She wasn't just angry anymore. She was done. And if they kept treating her pool like a public water park, she'd make sure their next visit was their last. First, she went to the hardware store. She bought 2 heavy-duty locks, one for the side gate, one for the pool box. The old ones were strong, but these were unbreakable. Next, she went online and ordered a special chemical for her pool. Not chlorine, something stronger. It wasn't dangerous, just a clever trick used by public pools to catch troublemakers. It was called pool dye, a harmless chemical that turns water bright green if someone pees in it. Yep, if any of those uninvited guests tried using her pool again, they'd walk out looking like glowing aliens. But that was just the beginning. Monique wanted insurance, something to scare them off for good. So she visited a local sign shop and had a custom warning made. The next morning, she bolted it onto her fence where everyone could see. Warning: pool chemically treated for unauthorized use. Exposure may cause rash, severe itching, or temporary skin discoloration. Did it sound extreme? Sure. Was any of it true? No. But they didn't know that. To make it convincing, she placed an empty hazardous chemicals box near the pump, something she got from her friend in maintenance. Now all she had to do was wait. It didn't take long. The next hot afternoon, Monique sat by her window, sipping iced tea, watching. Most of the day was quiet until 2 teenagers walked past her fence. They stopped, read the sign. One whispered something, then pointed at the chemical box. Within seconds, they turned around and left. Monique smirked. Later that night, Pamela, the same rude neighbor from the pool party, was walking her dog when she spotted the sign. She squinted at it, then pulled out her phone and started typing. Monique checked Facebook a few minutes later. There it was, a post in the Willow Heights community board. FYI, looks like Monique put some kind of weird chemical in her pool. Says it causes rashes and skin problems. Not sure how safe that is. Just a heads up. The comments poured in. Oh my God. What if it leaks into the ground? That doesn't sound legal. Why does she care so much? It's just water. Monique laughed out loud. They weren't mad because she lied or because they got caught. They were mad because their free pool days were over. And if they wanted to test her, good luck. For the first time in months, Monique felt at peace. No more random towels, no more strangers in her yard, no more entitled attitudes. Her plan had worked, or so she thought. Then came the knock. It was a Thursday evening when she heard it. Sharp, impatient banging on her front door. She set down her drink and peeked through the peephole. Pamela, arms crossed, looked furious. Monique sighed. Here we go. She opened the door, keeping her face calm. Yes. Pamela didn't waste time. We need to talk. Monique raised an eyebrow. Do we? Pamela huffed. Look, I don't know what your problem is, but people are saying you put dangerous chemicals in your pool. Monique blinked, then smirked. I did. She spoke smoothly, to keep out uninvited guests. Pamela's jaw clenched. You can't do that. What if a kid touches the water? Monique folded her arms. A kid who broke into my yard. Pamela hesitated. That's not the point. It's exactly the point. Monique fired back. I told people to stay out. They didn't listen, so I took precautions. Pamela scoffed. You're ridiculous. You don't even have kids. The pool just sits there going to waste. Monique tilted her head. So because I don't have kids, my pool is free for everyone? Pamela rolled her eyes. Oh, come on. Monique cut her off. No, you come on, Pamela. You and everyone else have some nerve. You don't pay my water bill. You don't clean my pool. But you think you can just help yourselves. Pamela's face turned red. Well, if you weren't so unfriendly, maybe people would actually like you. Monique laughed. A deep, real laugh. That's your problem, Pamela. You think being liked means letting people walk all over you. Pamela opened her mouth, then shut it. Finally, she shook her head in frustration. You know what? Forget it. She turned to leave. Monique called after her. Enjoy using your own hose this summer. Pamela stomped away. Monique shut the door, smiling to herself. They were mad, but they'd finally gotten the message. Just to be safe, she doubled down. The next morning, she added one last thing. Motion-activated sprinklers along the fence. If anyone tried to sneak in, they'd get a freezing surprise. But the best part? She never had to use them. Nobody tried again. The freeloading days were over. After months of frustration, Monique had finally reclaimed her peace. The pool was hers again. The backyard was quiet. The entitlement was gone. And the best part? She never even had to call the police because that was never the goal. She didn't want drama or enemies. She just wanted respect for what was hers. But here's the truth. Some people won't respect boundaries unless you force them to. Monique had tried being nice. She'd given warnings. She'd even asked politely, and they'd ignored her every time. But the second she fought back, they backed off. Because at the end of the day, people will take as much as you let them. It doesn't matter if it's your time, your space, your energy, or even your damn swimming pool. If you don't set boundaries, someone will walk all over you. So was Monique petty? Maybe. Was she wrong? Not even a little. What about you? Have you ever had to stand your ground when people tried to take advantage? Or better yet, how would you have handled this? Drop a comment below and let's talk about it. And if you like the story, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell for more. Thanks for watching, and remember, respect is earned, not given.